Today is Thursday, October the 24th. We've been working through this whole week just talking about humility together. Really, what does it look like to serve and to put yourself in a posture of service like Jesus did? If Jesus is our king, which I hope you're watching this, he is your king, then we want to live like our king. And if our king didn't see anything beneath him, then we shouldn't see anything beneath us. Here's the questions we have for today. First one is this. As a kid, what was your least favorite household chore, and what is it today?
The kid ones first. All of them. It would be all of them.
I agree.
If my parents said do it, I did not want to do that
Amen.
thing. I remember my sister and I had hamsters growing up, and I had a hamster cage in my room. And I did not like cleaning that thing at all. Did not like it at all. And it would get nasty and stink, and it was a constant thing, right?
Did you have the hamster wheel?
Oh, yes.
I heard that they're nocturnal creatures that
They squeak all night.
All night long.
Which didn't bother me. I sleep through that. But I didn't want to clean it. It was horrible. So all of them was my answer from a childhood. What's yours?
Same. Actually, I hated doing chores. At one time when I was a kid, I tried convincing my dad that, because I didn't get any allowances growing up, a lot of my friends did, and I was like, dude, I'll do these chores if you give me allowance. I feel like my friends get this. So my dad, quick on his feet, he could have been like, no. He didn't. Instead, he said, you know what? I'll make you a deal. I'll start.
And that's when you knew you went wrong. Right there.
He's like, I will start keeping track of what you eat, how much electricity you use, and different things like that. And when you have caught up on projects of paying me back for those things, then I will pay you. And I realized I was getting a really good deal, and so I decided to do chores. Not because I wanted to, but because I didn't want to pay bills.
You were going to owe some money.
A lot of money.
Yes, you were.
I found out really quickly how expensive I am.
That's right. So, mowing the yard when I was a kid, I hated all these things. Today, what is it today? This might be silly. I don't know. It probably is me being weird. My least favorite household chore is changing the stinking air filters on the vents. I just hate that. And I don't know why. It takes literally 30 seconds to walk over, pull one out, put one in, and go on my way. But I'll sit there. We set alarms on our phone. My wife does to remind me. And she'll be like, it's time to change the air filter. And I would rather do anything than go change the air filter. I don't know what it is.
That's interesting.
That's interesting. That's what I'm saying. You're like, that translates to, you're a weirdo.
I was trying to figure out like mine. Actually, because like I love the air filters because like it's like 5 minutes you're done.
I know. I have to go upstairs to do it. I just hate it. Yeah.
So I used to hate all of them. Then I worked at Chick-fil-A for a long time, and so I did dishes all the time at Chick-fil-A. I did laundry at Chick-fil-A, like because we had hand towels, different things. Worked for the camp doing the same things. And like so cooking and doing dishes and doing laundry and trash, I actually don't mind doing those things now because I got paid to do them for so long. They're just things I'm actually pretty good at. I hate cleaning my living room. And it comes from this. There are currently 3 people who live in my house. And if my wife watches this, I'm going to get in trouble.
Careful, Keenan.
I'm going to get in trouble. But here's the deal. She knows, so we know this. But because 3 people live in my house, I have a problem with cleaning spaces that I didn't create the mess of. And because we homeschool and my family's at home, I am not making most of the mess that happens in my living room. My child is. And so I feel like other people need to clean up this mess. And so when my wife's like, can you help us? Like, I didn't do this. And she's like, well, but you're the father. Get in here and help, right? And so I struggle with, if I create the mess, I don't mind cleaning it up. I really struggle, personally, with cleaning up other people's messes that I didn't create. What about you? You should leave in the comments this, so that way it's not just the 2 of us leaving comments.
Even if it's a weird one. What is it?
What is it? Maybe something you didn't think about. Maybe you do this and you're like, what? Because I think what we're learning is I need to find friends who like cleaning the living room. I'll come to your house and do your air vents.
I'll clean your living room.
I mean, like, we'll come to your house. We'll take turns doing the thing. Like, I'll find people, like, if you hate doing that, but I like doing it, let's tag team, okay? Let's do this. It'll go a lot quicker that way. Number 2, do you tend to think of humility as your attitude about yourself or your actions towards others? And what difference does that make in how you define humility? That's a good question.
It is. I think my definition of humility has changed over the years. When I was young, I thought humility meant I had to put myself down.
Yeah.
Right. I had to just lower myself below everybody else and everything else, and hide my skills or talents or whatever. And because I didn't want anybody, I had to refuse thank yous and way to go kind of comments because of that. Right?
Yeah, I agree. I think growing up, like even a few years ago, I had this viewpoint of if someone says you're good at this, oh no, it wasn't me, because I grew up in a society that pushed that if you take any credit for stuff, you're not humble, and that's actually not true. Based off of biblical, I think the thing is biblical humility, right?
Yeah.
Because Jesus knew who he was, Jesus knew his gifts, and yet he was still able to be humble. And I think the same thing goes for us. We can recognize the giftings and things God's given us. And I think I'm going to say this right. If they don't, correct me on this. Humility, though, is not thinking of yourself less, but thinking less about yourself. I think is right. Is the thing.
Say it again.
Not thinking about yourself less, but thinking less about yourself. And what I mean by that is like if I'm a good guitar player, I don't go, oh no, I'm a bad guitar player, because that's actually a lie, right? And humility is not lying. Humility is accepting the truth that I might be good, but my job is not to go around and be like, I am the best guitar player ever, because that's not true in our church. We have a lot of better guitar players than me. But recognizing that I might be good at this, but I don't need to think about that. It's a gift God's given me to use for his kingdom, so I need to think of myself less, and I think in you more.
Yeah. That's where I've come to as well. The humility really is not, saying that I'm not good at anything, but it's actually taking what I am good at and using it for other people. And when we sacrifice those things in that way, we submit and surrender those for the good of others. That's actually humility is. That's what Jesus did.
Yeah.
Right.
And before we move on, you told me a quote, and I think we may have mentioned this here before, but I want to say it again because it's a good one. You were watching a Carey Nieuwhof leadership podcast. I think it was Jim Collins talked about this kind of concept a little bit. Would you share that again? Because I think it.
You mean the clarity thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
because just in defining humility, I think. Yeah, sometimes we think people arrogantly.
Jim Collins wrote a book called Good to Great, and then a whole bunch of other books after that. They're really good. He's a fantastic author, a study of organizations and leadership, and he said in this podcast with Carey Nieuwhof, just recently, a few months ago, he said that we often confuse clarity for arrogance, and sometimes in the pursuit of being humble, we're less clear or we're less confident in what's going on. That's not humility. Humility is to be confident, to be clear, but not to be not to exploit others and not to do it for self-gain. Right? We live for self-sacrifice instead. And so,
and the reason why I wanted you to say that, because I think sometimes for me, I've been around people that actually have been humble, but I didn't perceive it as humility because I thought they were arrogant because they were like, no, this is what we're doing. And because I was like, you're supposed to be thinking less of that. No, they actually did the right thing. I need to change my perspective of what humility is. Just because they know what they were doing doesn't mean that they're arrogant. They could be humble and know what they're doing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Number 3, make a list of actions that would be equivalent in our culture to foot washing in Jesus' day. Actually, can I answer this one? Because I think this is an easy one to answer. Anything you don't want to do, I think is the equivalent of it, because I think they're different. I mean, and you may be thinking, oh, that's not culturally right, but it is true. I think our culture is so different than other cultures. We got to filter it through our lens. We don't do some of the things that they did. They had people who did things that were like they were washing feet. They were the lowest of the low in their society. And I think from our viewpoint as Americans, especially most of us watching this are Americans, we all have different viewpoints of what we think that is. Mm-hmm. For some of us, it may be garbage men. For some of us, it may be politicians. As for some of us, it may be, well, I mean, you can fill in the blank. And the reason why I say that is whatever you think that thing is that, I hate doing that. I don't want to scrub toilets. I don't want to clean a trash can. I don't want to change a diaper. Whatever, fill in the blank. For you, that is probably the equivalent of washing feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think you're probably right. If it's for somebody else, right? Yeah.
So that leads us into number 4. Do you find those kinds of things easy to do or hard to do?
Well,
Why?
because I think we agree. Because we're normal, they're hard.
Yeah.
Right. If they were easy, we wouldn't need challenge and encouragement to go do them. Right.
Yeah.
Jesus wouldn't have to model it because it would come natural to us. But because it doesn't, it's hard. And doing hard things is how we then make disciples and grow the kingdom. So absolutely, it's hard. Yeah.
And I think because of that, we have to recognize that being humble and serving other people is hard, but it's what we're called to do as Christians. Because Christians is literally, in the Greek, that just means little Jesus followers, right? We are supposed to be like our King. And if nothing was beneath Jesus to do, then nothing is beneath you to do. Nothing is beneath me to do. So I actually challenge you this week. It's not in here, but I want to challenge you as we wrap up the week. You're going to go into the weekend, whether it's at home, whether it's at work, if there's something that you run into and you think, it's not my job, I want you to do it. Without fanfare, without telling people, I did that because no one's, just do it. Why? Because I think it might be good for you.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I was just thinking about one time you shared a story about pointing versus scooping, and I think it goes well in this area. Would you share that story briefly again?
Yeah, it's been a while. Another church, not our church, not here. I was on staff, and at this particular church, on a Sunday morning, there was a commotion in the lobby of the church right there. And I kind of walked through the lobby, and I saw in the corner of the lobby there was a bucket sitting there upside down right there in the corner of the lobby. And there was a couple of guys looking at it. And then as I kind of left, I came back by later on. Eventually, there was a bucket right there, a couple of guys, and they put a chair or two around it to kind of block it off a little bit. And I came by, and this true story, this happened all the same Sunday morning. I came back by later on, and someone had put some more chairs, they had a little caution tape around this thing, and they're standing there in a circle. And eventually, I got to the point, I walked by, and I had to know what's going on. They had this whole blockade around this bucket. It was sitting right here, and there was a crowd of people in the lobby. Church is going on in the auditorium. There's people in the lobby looking at this bucket, and they're talking like, I can't believe this is going on. What's that? Look at this. I don't know. And I had to know. So I stand in the crowd. I'm like, what's in the bucket? Like, you don't know what's in the bucket? I'm like, I don't know what's in the bucket. What's in the bucket? I don't know either, but it must be great. This whole little thing's going on. We're all staring at the bucket. And finally, one of the other ministers on staff, not myself, I wish it was me, came running up, said, I'll take care of it. Hands and knees, crawled under the tape, lifted the bucket up, and under the bucket, weirdly enough, and there's no polite way to say this, there was a poop laying there under the bucket. I don't know how it got there in the lobby. No way to understand. No one ever knew. It's a mystery. But he scooped it up with the plastic bag, took it away, got rid of the thing. Right. And on that day, it occurred to me that our world is made up of two different kinds of people. We have pointers and we have scoopers. There's also the poopers. We're not talking about that. They're the mess makers. Pointers and scoopers. The ones who point at the mess and say, I wish someone would take care of that. Who's going to do that? It's not my job. It's your job, their job, whose job? Let's get somebody in here who's paid to do this. Let's take care of it. And then you have the scoopers, the humble people that walk over and say, you know what? I'm just going to scoop it up, take care of it.
Yeah.
We want, as believers, we want to be scoopers.
Yeah.
We want to scoop messes up and restore things to better places, not so people look at us and say, hey, man, great job with that today, but just so we go in, scoop it up, move on our way, and we don't talk about it again. You don't go scoop it up and then stand around saying, boy, bet you're glad someone picked that up, aren't you? Well, who did? Oh, it was me, that's right. You don't do that. You scoop it up and go on your way.
Yeah. I just, again, already challenged you to do it, but I really want you to look for opportunities this week to serve like Jesus, be a scooper. And I would say 9 times out of 10, no one's going to know you did it. But God does. And that's really the only audience that matters. God looks at your heart. He knows what you're doing. He's your king. And he's the one that we should be doing things for, not for the fanfare people around us. Adam, why don't you, as we wrap up this time, why don't you talk about where we're going this weekend?
Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. A couple of different things are going to happen. Number one, in all of our gatherings, we are going to talk about our upcoming month of November. We have in November, we have an all-church meeting where we'll talk about, we'll affirm as a church what the elders have proposed as new elders and deacons, trustees for legal purposes, these things. We do this every year. Also a budget for next year because we operate under a budget every single year. And we have this all-church meeting the week of November 9th and 10th, those Saturday and Sunday. And you'll have opportunity to vote to affirm these things on those days. And so we'll talk that. We'll preview it a little bit. We'll also point ahead to November because the whole month of November we take a special offering up called the Harvest Offering. And this Harvest Offering goes toward projects that are local to us and projects that are in missions, and half the money goes to missions, half stays local. We will preview that for you also this coming weekend so that you can see what's going on with the Harvest Offering and the all-church meeting in November. As far as our gatherings, I'm excited because I get to speak along with a guy named Reagan Waymeyer this weekend. Reagan's one of our interns. If you watch these videos online all the time, you've probably seen Reagan a time or two on here. He's a great young man. He's a student at Ozark Christian College, been interning this fall with us, and he and I are going to speak. We're going to speak this weekend about Passover and communion. And I think it's going to be encouraging for you and challenging with a clear next step of what you can do to remember these things as well. So I hope you'll join us as we talk about Passover and communion, and we just spend time in Exodus and in Matthew, and we walk forward together, remembering what Jesus has done for us so that we can take steps based upon that fact in our life.
Yeah. I'm going to pray for us, and then we're going to be sent from this place. Heavenly Father, we want to serve like you. We want to not be conformed. We don't want to be made into the image the world tries to fit us into, but to be patterned after you. And you are a king who shows us the way. You are a king who leads the way in generosity, in love. You are the king who leads in grace and service. And if these kinds of things were not beneath you, then as followers of you, they shouldn't be beneath us either. Give us eyes this week to look for ways that we end up being pointers instead of scoopers, and challenge us to get on our hands and knees and to serve like Jesus. And Father, if we do that, and if people watch, may they not see us, but may they see you in us and want to follow you too. Amen. Church, until we see each other again, you are sent. Have a great day.